Welcome to an exciting episode of WandaVision. It's episode 4. And we start off the episode with something different. We're not in the sitcom. We're actually in modern day because we have a 19 by 10 aspect ratio screen. And you see Geraldine, which her real name in the real world is Monica Rambeau, and she woke up and in the hospital. So somehow she was in a coma and she woke up, and she was walking around looking for a doctor, and apparently everybody's appearing again, which is weird because that's the opposite of when Thanos snapped his fingers and everybody disappears. So then she eventually found the doctor, and the doctor kind of told her, "Hey, where's?" She was asking for her mom, and the doctor said, "Oh, your mom died of cancer, I think a couple years ago, and that was 2 years or 3 years after you disappear." So apparently, she was one of the people that got disappeared that would reappear, and then mom was battling cancer, so she passed away. So she was like, "Oh." That's so she was very upset about it. So now you switch to a view of the headquarters of Sword, which is that little necklace thing, the sword necklace that she had in the previous episode. Then she was going to work, but her badge didn't work, and so then she met up with her boss, a white guy. I forgot his name, but he's her boss, and then you see some plaque of, I guess, people that have fallen heroes of Sword, and there was a plaque of her mom, Maria Rambeau, and then her boss kind of come in and say, "Hey, you know what? Something happened that I don't think they explained the mission, or maybe I didn't listen carefully." But her boss said, "Hey, you know what? You only allow, I guess, easy missions or non-dangerous missions." So then she's like, "Oh, the FBI is looking for a bunch of missing person. Can you help on that?" So then that's her first mission after she woke up from coma, apparently. So then you get a view of a bridge, which remind me of Winter Soldier, when you see a bridge and that big carrier that can fly in the air. That remind me of that scene. Then they basically go to New Jersey, which they eventually go to Westview, which is essentially where WandaVision is, right? So they went to Westview and they meet up with some cops and Agent Woo, Jimmy Woo, which is the name. The guy's Jimmy Woo, not Kim. For some reason, I think in the previous episode I call him Kim, but that's the guy in Ant-Man. And apparently he's from Oakland. I guess Ant-Man was in San Francisco, so that makes sense. So his FBI agent, Jimmy Woo, and they introduce each other and like, "Hey, you missing person?" And then he was saying, "Oh, there's a missing person," but then he's in a witness protection program, but he doesn't exist. So it's kind of weird. It's like there's a missing person, the person in the witness protection, which means they should be missing, but then that person don't exist. I think that's what he said. And then they talk to the cop, and the cop's like, "Wait a second, there's one weird thing about Westview. It doesn't exist because these cops came from Eastview." so it was weird. And then you see her take something out of her SUV. It was that drone that in the previous episode, that helicopter drone that Wanda saw in color in previous episode. I think it was the first episode. And then she flew the drone in, and then all of a sudden the drone disappeared when it flew in. The thing that's interesting is, I imagine you're a government agency. They literally drove a person. That person got a mission to drive to New Jersey to fly a drone into a town. It's like, how much money did that cost them? Probably $1,000 to do that. But so then she's like, "Hey, the damn drone disappears." Like, then she went and touched. She kind of went close to Westview, and she knows like an energy field there. It's like a dome, and then she tried to touch it. And then when she touched it, she went into Westview, which is WandaVision. That's how she got into it. And then later, she appeared to be one of the character Geraldine in WandaVision. So then, since weird thing happens, 24 hours later, you see a bunch of scientists getting, going to Westview. And one of the scientists is, I think, Dr. Lewis. I think she's from Thor. And then she's in the van where they're carrying a bunch of science, and she introduces herself. And then now they're in the headquarters of SWORD outside Westview, and I guess now it's some kind of phenomenon, so these agency has to investigate it. And she made this person, I captured the scene because she's like, Miss Lewis, and then she's like, no, Dr. Lewis. I'm like, she's a PhD, she's not an MD. So I've worked with a bunch of PhD in my work, and they never call themselves doctors. So it's weird. She must have a lot of issue with her self-esteem or something. So she's like, I gotta call myself doctor. You're not MD. So she went there. She started playing these spectrum analyzer and said, oh, there's much of radiation here. Oh, it's a huge amount of radiation. What's going on? Then she kind of tuned in. She has a black and white TV. She tuned in, and then she saw WandaVision. So basically, the radiation was actually just a broadcast of a sitcom. So then you cut to a scene where they had this guy in a suit going through a tunnel, which will go into Westview, and this is what we saw. I think the first episode, where the beekeeper looking guy came out of the manhole. That was the guy that they essentially got through the sewer from outside. So basically, we're connecting the episode, right? Then now they're showing, she got a bunch of TVs, and now Dr. Lewis is showing everybody the sitcom, and then they start identifying people. So of course, Agent Wu is saying, "Hey, we identified 2 people, Vision and Scarlet Witch." And then now the missing person case is really all those people in the sitcom are actually missing. They're missing, and somehow Wanda, somebody got her into those people in the Westview, and they're part of the sitcom, even though actually they're real people outside Westview. They're going missing. And then she's watching the sitcom, and then she saw Monica Rambeau. It's like, oh, wait a second, she was the person that got sucked into the Westview, and she's on sitcom now. And she's like, oh my god, that's Monica Rambeau. So then she has a plan. She's like, hey, you know what? The radio they have, I can broadcast some kind of signal and talk to Wanda. And she had this antenna, which reminded me of a HD antenna, the fancier one, which costs $100. And she's like, oh, Agent Wu, you can talk to her. I'll beam this signal using my antenna into the radio in WandaVision, and you can talk to her. So this is the scene where you get essentially Wanda was talking to the I think Phil's wife, which is the chairperson of the talent committee, talent show, and where the radio was talking like, who's doing this to you, Wanda? And then the radio blew up, and the lady kind of cut her hand by squeezing the glass. That was the scene. So basically, they try and connect the episode again. And then another agent walk up and say, oh, there's a picture of your drone, which is in color, which is kind of like connecting the dot again. You got the drone, you got a picture of the drone in color, and then you see Agent Wu try and talk to Wanda. And of course, when Dr. Lewis looked at the scene where you see Agent Wu talking to Wanda through radio, you see the scene was cut, and essentially that kind of was similar to when the first two episodes, where anything that is not scripted by Wanda get cut out of the sitcom. Essentially, when the radio was talking to her, it broke. Anytime that Vision had some weird thing where it was Vision like, oh, I don't think this is right, then she would cut the scene so that it'll make Vision look like, oh, he's happy now. Or that one time where you saw Geraldine told Wanda that, hey, your brother got killed by Ultron, and we cut the scene, right? So then we cut to the commercial, similar to in the sitcom. So they see commercial too, like we see commercials. Then you see the guy in the hazmat suit, I guess, the beekeeper suit, getting out, and that was another scene where she recut too. It's like, oh, anything that is not part of the script, she basically delete the scene from the sitcom. And then Agent Wu and Dr. Lewis was talking, and I think this is when Wanda was having the baby, and then Dr. Lewis was eating some chips, so Dr. Lewis say, hey, you want some? Saying, you want some chips? But then Jimmy Woo was like, it's like, oh, yeah, I always want to have a little Jimmy. So it's kind of Jimmy is always misinterpreting what people ask him or talk to. I think similar to when Margot Rambeau beginning asked him some question, forgot what question was it, and he misinterpreted what she asked him, then kind of tell something about his personal life. Remind me of people that, those type of people are people that really want to meet people, have contact. They don't talk to a lot of people personally. That's why they always have thinking that when somebody asks them a question or somebody says something, they always think that, oh, that person wants to know something about my life. So that means that person need more contact with other people. And I'm assuming Agent Wu don't have a girlfriend. So he probably don't have a girlfriend or marry or have kids. So he's missing a partner, definitely. It'd be great if maybe Agent Wu and Dr. Lewis get together, but that's you can tell he's missing a significant other in his life. But so they see the episode ending with Wanda and Vision having a baby, and then in the episode, now you're seeing the missing part of the episode, where in the previous, I think the third episode, you don't see Wanda basically dismissing Margot Rambeau from WandaVision. Now you do see it, and this is where she pushed Margot Rambeau through walls out of WandaVision, out of the, I guess, the electrified dome. So you see that scene. I think that scene was in the trailer, but it wasn't shown in the third episode, I believe. So then now, same scene again. Margot Rambeau's outside the dome. You see a bunch of SUV, Jeeps, and helicopter spotlighting her. And then back to WandaVision. Now, I think when Wanda does something that's out of the ordinary, that's part of not script, she loses her power, so she can't control certain things. So then she see Vision with a big hole in his head, which is, I believe, when Thanos took one of the stone from its gauntlet from Vision's head, and I think that one of the stone was in Vision's head, so he ripped it off, and that's how he died. So she saw that because she, I guess, couldn't control at that moment everything, so she lost control right there. Then the next thing you know, he's back to normal, and then Vision's like, hey, you know what? We don't need to stay here. We can leave. And she's like, oh, we're not gonna leave. This is our home now. And then you flash back to Margot Rambeau there, and then Margot Rambeau say, oh, it's all under Wanda's control. Wanda's controlling this. And then last scene is just Wanda and Vision sitting down watching TV with their babies. So pretty cool. This episode kind of connects all the previous episode. You got the drone, you got the guy in the hazmat suit, beekeeper, you got the Jimmy Woo trying to talk to Wanda through the radio, and then you got all these scenes that were cut when when I guess Wanda think wasn't part of the script. So now everything's connected. So pretty much good episode. Basically, it connects everything together, and we think Wanda's controlling all this stuff. So that's the episode. It's a good episode. Please subscribe, and I'm having fun doing this again. So this is cool. So that's it. Thank you.